Yes, hello everyone. Welcome back to WD18, the Watford fan channel. It has finished. Middlesbrough 1, Watford 1 at the Riverside Stadium. Today, I'm your host, Jacob, Sam, Elliot, Mr. Shane. Shane O'Hornet, Shane. Hey, Shane, WD18. Make sure you do go and follow Shane on socials, as the other two lads as well. Shane, how's it going, mate, first of all?
I'm good. I'm all right. Yeah, it's been another lively day, isn't it? Championship action. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's one of those things. If you'd asked me at like 2:45, I probably would have ignored you. But if you asked me again at like about 5:00 today, then yeah, I was happier, wasn't I? And it's the unpredictable nature of this league that we're in. We know it. Everyone knows it. It's still lots and lots of things. Of course, still lots of points to play for, etc. But yeah, I guess I'm a lot better now than I was at like 2:45 or earlier on today. Anyway, after the game.
Top man, it's a pleasure to have you on for the match reaction. We didn't do a Sunday night with Shane. We thought we'd wait till after the bank holiday weekend to kind of review the last two games in 4 days for Watford. It's a busy schedule, busy Easter schedule, and obviously that continues on Friday night against Reading. Let's dissect today's game. Sam, simple question: is that 1 point gained or 2 points dropped for Watford?
I knew you'd ask me that.
I'm actually going to ask you guys the same question. So, Sam, we'll be talking you, mate.
Here you go.
It's a really difficult one because I did say beforehand, I was like, I said on last week's preview or the match reaction, I can't remember. I said, if you'd offered me a point, I'll take it. So in the context of that, I think it's good. I think it's good in regards to our performance. I personally thought, on the balance of it, I thought a draw was a good result. Arguably on another day we lose that, or our goal gets disallowed, that kind of thing. So it's so in the context of the performance, it's probably a point gained. But I thought, in a way, we didn't turn up, and the performance was quite flat and disappointing. So you could argue it's 2 points dropped there, but I'd probably just say a point gained edges it, particularly with what happened with Swansea this afternoon.
Elliot, same question over to you, mate. 1 point gained or 2 dropped?
I think I'd go with one game just with the context of the league and with the context of Swansea losing to Preston. I think it was a very difficult game today, and I think many teams have gone to Middlesbrough this season and not won, and many teams will continue to go to Middlesbrough and not win. They're a very competitive side, and you're coming up against arguably the most experienced manager.
We got Neil Warnock
in the world. He's arguably the most experienced manager in the world. He's been doing it since Xisco was born, which is my favourite stat of the day. It was brilliant, and yeah, I'm not too disappointed. If you'd have asked me, like Shane said, just after full time, I probably would have said 2 drop, because the fact is we are really now trying to get trying to open up the space even more between us and Swansea and Brentford, but. The other sides have been drawing around us in the table, so for us to draw is not disappointing. We didn't lose. We've still got some momentum, and also dropping points is a far less extreme case than with Coventry, but dropping points might be one of those things that maybe kicks us into gear again and goes, look, we've not been quite right since the international break, and we've got a big game against Reading on Friday, and we've just got to try and get back to our best for that, and I think we will. So, yeah, definitely a point gain.
You mentioned Xisco there, Elliot, and I loved it when he was giving Neil Warnock a little bit on the touchline. I think it might have been Adam Leventhal on The Athletic that said Neil Warnock was offered the chance to see the Watford goal on the replay. He declined and then continued to have a go at everyone else, which is probably the most Neil Warnock thing you've ever heard. Yeah. Shano, from your perspective, is that 1 game or 2 dropped?
I think it's got to be 1 gained, isn't it? I think it'd be very easy to say it's 2 points dropped. I think you'd maybe have that perspective if Swansea had got themselves a result. We'd be kicking ourselves now, let's be honest, but I think it's a point gain. I think it's one of those situations where you get the points and just get the hell out of town, really. It wasn't a very pleasant game of football. I didn't enjoy watching it, if I'm honest with you. I was nervous throughout the entire game. I was nervous coming into the game. Neil Warnock, I thought, was very sickly sweet in his interview with Sky before the game. This side are second. They're the best team in the league at the moment.
He was big enough, wasn't he? Yeah.
It seemed like he wrote them off. It was just like,
exactly.
We're going to lose this.
And it was the flip side. I think it might have either been Gary Monk or Clinton Morris, and one of them was like, that's his attitude here to the media. Inside that dressing room, he's going to be saying something completely different. And, he's a moany old trout, isn't he? But I'll tell you one thing. He drilled his players very, very well today. They kept the majority of our threats relatively quiet. Sema and Sarr did score today. He was in the right place at the right time. It was a good finish. Well, I say good finish. Of course, I'm going to say that.
Puskas Award, mate.
From his goal. Puskas Award, yeah. That's definitely goal of the season contender right there. But no, listen, they kept our biggest threats quiet. They nullified us. He made two big changes that ultimately changed the game for them. One in particular that ended up changing the game for them. So I think it's definitely a point gained, as Elliot says. We're back at Vicarage Road on Friday. I think we're going to be back to our best. I'm always more confident. Games at the Vic. I know I keep saying it, but I just am. I wasn't confident coming into today's game. I knew Middlesbrough will make it tough for us, and they did ultimately. But let's hope. I think we will bounce back against Reading on the Friday night. I am confident.
Sam, you mentioned about the Watford performance today. What was it that was maybe lacking from our perspective that you've seen him previously this season?
Do you know what? Before I answer that, I know I had Shane mention Clinton Morrison and Gary Monk. I just wanted to hear his thoughts on the performance in the Sky studio today.
Yeah, Keith Andrews wasn't there, Shane.
Yeah. I didn't think it was as good as previous weeks. I think their analysis of Watford has improved, to be fair.
I think,
mate, PZ7 got picked out. That's the main thing.
Yeah, that's really good. Oh, mate, I thought it was his goal and he was about to do the celebration. I didn't clock it after the read.
Shane, what are we giving the Sky commentary out of 10?
Commentary?
No. You know, the punditry, the analysis.
Punditry. I don't know. I'm not all that keen on the two in the studio. If I'm honest with you, it would have been about a 10 out of 10, possibly a 20 out of 10 if it'd been Keith, but because it wasn't, I'll settle for about a 6 or a 7. I didn't like the Sky. I didn't like Don Goodman was going on and on about how our goal was controversial. It was like 10 years. Yeah. He was like 10 years onside. Like, are you seeing the same thing I am? Are you watching this in standard definition as opposed to high? I mean, come on, man. No, listen, that was just really that was one of the most annoying things about it. And Don Goodman constantly saying the words ironic as well. What is ironic about the word ironic? You're annoying me now.
And then Zinchenko got a handball in the second half, and apparently that was an ironic thing. I mean, I don't know what we've done about.
Rubbish.
Sam, from your perspective, what was the difference from this performance to the other ones we've seen recently?
I thought it was I think, Jacob, you summed up really well. You said it was a tired performance. On the group chat, you said some absolute quality insight from both of you on there. But, I think you said it was a tired performance. I think that sums it up really well. I thought we looked a bit fatigued. We looked a bit off the pace. And certain players who we've often relied on to kind of, in these really tight games, to kind of drag us out of it were really, just not with it today. I look at Joao Pedro, Sarr, Sema, even Will Hughes. I thought none of them had their best games today. And I think that ultimately does have an impact on the rest of the team and on everyone else. And I think that's why I would say it's a point gained, just going back to the first question, simply because we weren't at the races today and it wasn't good enough, if we're being honest.
Elliot, as Sam mentions, there were a few players that I personally thought were off it today. I think we can all agree it wasn't our best performance this season. Why do you think that was? Was that just the way we applied ourselves, or do we have to give a lot of credit to the way Neil Warnock set us up? And I think it was Hughes in the post-match comment said, I think Middlesbrough are one of the few teams in the Championship that very much go man for man. Do you think that had a big impact on today?
Exactly that. You've taken the words right.
Sorry, mate.
My mouth. I think full credit has to go to Neil Warnock. He set up his team really well. He knew what he was doing. He knew the man-for-man tactic would work effectively. He sort of stifled any threat from out wide. I think Ismaila Sarr often had problems and had to maybe cut inside here and there because he just wasn't getting much joy out on the right. And it was at times he almost seemed double marked. And I think that actually benefited Kiko Femenia because then he had the space to move forward. But overall, I think Neil Warnock just knew what he was doing. I think it is the man for man. It is the problems in the midfield because he knew how to win the midfield battle. And if you can't take the game by the scruff of the neck, it could be very difficult to take the 3 points from Riverside. So, yeah, I think we've got to praise Neil Warnock. I know Xisco Munoz said in his post-match comments that it wasn't quite right from his perspective, and they are going to work on things. They are going to improve things, and I'm sure they know exactly what they need to do now for the Reading game. But yeah, I want to give full credit to Neil Warnock because I think he knew what he was doing today, and I think he sort of sussed us out, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. From more maybe looking at the positives today, Shane, not saying Elliot was negative, but the positives. from my perspective, Shane, was defensively again. You know, I think maybe a couple of times we were caught out, and yes, Middlesbrough didn't play with a recognised number 9, but surely that is another big positive that we can take away, despite us conceding and not getting a clean sheet. Sierralta and Troost-Ekong again, solid.
I thought Sierralta had, I think, the best game. I think in that back line, Troost-Ekong was okay. I thought sometimes some of his distribution was a little bit off. He was getting slightly kind of rushed and harried on the ball a little bit, especially when the subs came on, when Balassi came on. You know, those guys were really kind of running at him, trying to maybe force him into a mistake. Sierralta, I thought, was brilliant. I thought some of the tackles he put in that first half in particular were fantastic, and at times whereby we needed to be solid, and we actually were. All right, yeah, we conceded through the set piece and all that, and that was unfortunate. But defensively, we looked good. But as you say, I thought elsewhere on the pitch, it just wasn't quite there, really. You know, I think Joao Pedro had the biggest chance. I think it was in that second half. He rolls it past. I mean, he's got to be scoring that. If I'm being honest about it, I think I've got to be. He should be burying that in the bottom corner. A fresher Joao Pedro, one that maybe has had a bit more of a rest, has had a bit more of a break. Potentially, he does score that. But it's a double-edged sword, really, for Xisco, isn't it? Because coming into this game, if he had rested most of that 11, we didn't get a result, we got the draw, it would have been very much of, well, if we'd started our best players, we would have got the result. And the flip side to that, obviously, he starts all of our players, and a lot of them, I saw a few critics come out and say, well, actually, he should have rested more. He should have rested more of those players. Because at times we did look leggy. It did look lethargic.
Do you agree with that, Shane?
In there.
No.
No. For me, we had to go with our strongest 11. It's just a symptom of the season, isn't it? You know, all right, fine. You know, this is the Easter weekend. You know, the Easter weekend involves, for lots of people, eating lots of chocolate. But for me, it involves championship football. And it has always involved a Good Friday and an Easter Monday game. That's just it. Do you know what I mean? And we knew of all seasons, we knew that this was going to be a tough doubleheader for us. You know, Sheffield Wednesday, I mean, look at their result today. You know, their result against us maybe doesn't quite hold them in the right kind of light that they deserve to kind of be in. You know, they've put in a great performance today, whereas Middlesbrough, they've been tough customers all throughout the season. I think we had to go with our strongest 11. If Joao Pedro was fit enough, he should have started. In hindsight, I've seen a few people say maybe Isaac's success should have started. His hold-up play would have been better in there, maybe bringing in the likes of Sarr and Sema. It's all if, buts and maybes. But for me, if Joao Pedro is fit, as he was, then he should start because he is our best striker. You know, he is our best striker, and he still gave us a big threat today, even though he didn't score. But no, going back to your original point, our defence, and in Sierralta in particular, you know, we've said it on here before. I've said it before. You know, we found an absolute gem with him, and it was good to see the fact that his performance kind of didn't change despite what was going on around him, despite obviously Middlesbrough's attempts to kind of change up the game kind of late on. It was good to see the fact that he kept solid, and yeah, he put in another solid shift for us.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on the Joao Pedro situation, Sam. We knew coming into this it would be kind of touch and go whether he starts. I don't think we can all tell he wasn't at 100% today. Looking back on it, I know this is a very kind of hindsight question, but do you think it was the correct decision to start him? And number two, what did you make of his performance? Because as Shane mentions, he had some really good opportunities, particularly in the second half.
As you say, it's a really difficult question because, you know, it's so difficult in hindsight because, you know, if I was told before the game, Joao Pedro's fit, I'd say you start him, simple as, because, you know, he is our best striker by a mile. And, you know, it's easy to say now that probably, all right, he shouldn't have started. But, you know, before the game, I would have said 100% he has to start. But if I'm being honest, and this isn't me getting carried away or overly negative, it was probably his worst performance of the season, and I'll turn that into a positive because the fact that his, you know, lowest kind of output in a game was still having quite a large involvement. I'd say I thought his movement off the ball was still pretty good. Is a compliment for how far he's come as a player. And yes, obviously he's young. He's going to have the off day every so often, like today, where it was a very different sort of opponent. As Elliot said, they marked him man for man, and it was difficult. He was very isolated at times. He had to drop deeper, but the fact that he was still trying to make things happen, I think, is a massive positive. But Yeah, it is difficult. And if he's not 100% for Friday, maybe I would take him out based on what we saw today. But it's a really difficult one.
Is that another positive, Elliot? The fact that we've come away from the Riverside, haven't played our best stuff, probably put in, a 5 out of 10 performance, and we still created chances. We take a point away from home. From your perspective, despite us not playing our best football today, do you come away with that feeling more positive? I know there's probably, after the Swansea result, we're all feeling a bit more positive. But from your perspective, do you see that as a positive, today's result, despite us not playing great?
I think whether I see it as a positive or not is a difficult one, because I would have really, really liked to win that. And I think if we'd have won that, that would have really brought some daylight between us and third and fourth. So is it a positive? Not necessarily, but there were a lot of positives to take from it. I think, as Shane really, really put well, I think the defence was a huge positive. There weren't really many slip-ups. It was difficult for Troost-Ekong and Sierrata to distribute it to the midfield because of the man-for-man tactic of Neil Warnock. He just had Hughes and Chalobah marked, and Gosling and Zinkernagel also. So it was difficult for them to play the right passes. Often they had to play it out to Messina and Kiko, and we saw quite a few times they would have to play quite a long ball tactic because the midfield was just so tight and so difficult to get into and to break into. So I think, given the circumstances, given the performance that Middlesbrough put in, because they put in a very good performance, and given the fact that it is a point and we've kept up this unbeaten run, I would say that it is a positive, and we've got many things that we can take into Reading now, both negative and positive, in terms of what we can build on. So yeah, I think there are definitely positives to take from it, and obviously the Swansea result has helped that, but I feel positive. I'm all good now. I don't feel disappointed in the result, and hopefully Birmingham can help us out a little bit more tomorrow as well. And then we're flying going into Reading, and it will feel like the draw never happened. So
yeah, very true.
I think they're positive.
Yeah,
very true. We'll touch on. We'll touch on the kind of the championship situation for us just in a little second. Shane, I wanted to kind of touch on the tempo of Watford today, because it did feel like we were slow. I think we've all come into it, 2 games in 4 days. We've come off the back of the international break. A lot of our players were on international duty. Yeah. There was a drop in tempo, but surely, the fact that we have picked up 4 points in 2 games, from your perspective, do you see that as actually quite encouraging? If we take the performances out of it, and we know we haven't been as good in the last 2 games, we've still picked up 4 points. We've still got the situation in our hands. From your perspective, are you still feeling very, not comfortable, but calm about the situation at the moment with Watford?
I'm calm now because I'm not watching us play. If you ask me, during the game, it's just panic stations all the way through. I felt sick multiple times today. Sick multiple times during the Sheffield Wednesday game, to be honest with you. And I think, look, off the back of the weekend, I think people are right. We didn't play our best today. We didn't necessarily play our best against Sheffield Wednesday. Everyone was calling for that second goal against Sheffield Wednesday. We were relatively comfortable. They have, of course, they've got some good players in there, but we managed to hold firm. Getting that win was great. I think, as I've said before, the Easter weekend is always difficult. The quick turnaround in matches is tough. It's tougher than it ever has been, especially this season. I think we've played well. I think we got the result against Sheffield Wednesday. I was expecting a little bit more today. But listen, 4 points, 2 very tough matches. As I think a lot of people have said, if we're able to now kind of kick on, get that result on Friday night, that will be huge. All right, we're looking at other teams, maybe looking at Huddersfield if we're still, if you're like me, still dreaming of, finishing number 1 tomorrow. But we really are looking at that Birmingham result, and we're hoping and praying that they've got something to fight for. Maybe they do today. If you look at Sheffield Wednesday, they've now got to come out. Birmingham, their status in this division really does depend on it, and that's crucial. For them, it's crucial that a game that for us tonight didn't really have that much of an impact. Actually, it could in other teams that are playing, and that's the best thing about the championship. Is that there's always something going on. There's always something to take your interest. But I don't know. I think on kind of like the flip side to this, obviously, if we had got the win today, as Elliot said, it would have just put such a massive. Like we talk about daylight. It would have been like a whole sun, really, wouldn't it? Of just comfort between us and the teams down in third and fourth.
We're going to have to make a catalogue of these quotes, by the way, Shane.
But you know what?
Sorry, mate. Carry on.
I think on a that's fine. I think on a serious note though, it is still in our hands. All is not lost. I think it's quite difficult because we weren't able to get the win today. I feel like some fans were a little bit, including myself, were a little bit like, oh, okay, we haven't actually come away with a win. I was expecting us to win. I didn't think we'd win very handsomely. I did predict a 1-0, very, a very cagey affair kind of prediction from me. But, look, it's still in our hands. All we've got to do is just focus on our own games and win our own matches. If other teams help us out, great. That'll just add to the feel-good factor. But we've got to focus on ourselves. We can't be relying really on other teams doing us a favour. If they do it, great. It's Preston today. It's Birmingham tomorrow. Brilliant. But it's still in our hands. The team know, I think, the reaction from today has been quite telling as well. Will Hughes saying, we weren't at our best. We weren't happy with our overall performance. I think that's also quite telling. It shows that actually when they got back into the dressing room, they weren't satisfied with a point. Regardless as to how things turned out later on in the day, they weren't satisfied with that. They know they need to up the tempo. And as I think we mentioned at the start of this, it was a bit like today might have been a little bit, well, not in exactly the same way, slightly similar to the Bournemouth game in that it wasn't a win. Are we now going to see us step up our performance for the next few matches? Are we going to see a reaction? We do need to see a reaction. I didn't think the tempo was up there today. We weren't on it. We weren't as sharp as we were. A few days off training, etc. It's going to be massive. Massive game, of course, against Reading. But then actually after that, I think it's an 8-day gap until the game at the Kennel. So that's huge. That's going to mean a rest. That's going to mean some tactics. That's going to mean another countdown to Cleds or something. It's going to mean that we get so many other things in that time, and that's brilliant. But as I say, knuckle down this week. Get that result on Friday. Friday night is now massive. Reading, they won today. They're still harbouring prospects of finishing in the playoffs. We've got to not let it drop. The standards have not got to drop. Credit to Neil Warnock today. It was just one of those games. He was very confident. I think he kind of hit that in his pre-match interview, really. And yeah, let's just hope we can rectify things on Friday.
Sam, how are you feeling, mate, at the minute with the results? With the result from Swansea today, obviously Brentford are playing tomorrow. It feels like at this point we are looking at a lot more of the other results than we were at the kind of the start of the season. But from your perspective, still feeling confident with Watford?
Yeah, I think we've got every right to be as well. I don't think you can't not be confident because the unbeaten run continues, even though we didn't win today. But I mean, I don't want this to become a meme, but I'm not worried about Swansea anymore. I am more worried about Brentford because I don't really see a big turnaround in Swansea's results coming because this wobble, or whatever you want to call it, they're on at the moment has been coming for a long time. They were nicking games 1-0, bit of luck in every game and stuff. So I'm more worried about Brentford and the goals that they've got in Ivan Toney, and I just feel like that he could carry them to something. But yeah, I am still confident. We can only worry about ourselves. I think they did mention this on Sky that I do think that our fixtures actually do favour us. I know it looks very difficult on paper, but I think it will suit us playing the teams around us and, teams with something to fight for. And I said that our most difficult games are going to be, Middlesbrough, all right, outside chance of getting the playoffs, Luton away, not playing for anything, and Millwall aren't playing for anything. I think those are going to be the more difficult games when there's nothing at stake for them other than to ruin the party. So, I think other teams have more games like that than us. So I think it actually does suit us, the fact that we have to play pretty much most of the top 6 still. And yeah, I would say I am still confident.
Sam, before I just ask Elliot about kind of the similar question, is it important that we don't change our expectations? Because I know Shane mentioned about Norwich and catching them up. Do you think I just saw there was quite a few comments on social media about how today was a bit of a disaster when realistically the situation is in our own hands. And do you feel expectations have maybe changed the way some people are looking at it a little bit because we can catch Norwich up and can push them for the title if we do carry on?
I think obviously we need to be careful. I think it's just the nature of football fans. You want to get excited. You want to be looking up the table rather than down. And it was just a natural reaction seeing Norwich drop points and us picking up a lot of points. So do you know what? For me, it's not important because from where we were, I'll bring it back again to that Coventry game. I said we wouldn't get playoffs. So the fact that we are comfortably in the top two, I really couldn't care if we finished first or second. I mean, obviously I'd rather win the league, but finish second, I'm completely happy. So yeah, we do need to manage our expectations and not put, I don't want to say too much pressure on the players because we're not in the stadium, but second place, completely fine.
Elliot, just to wrap up, how you feeling, mate, after today? Has it changed your mood heading into the last 6 games of the season?
Not really, because I've always been worried that there was like an inevitable drop off, and this isn't a drop off. So my mood doesn't really change. My feeling about it doesn't really change. In terms of fans looking at Norwich, I think it's a bit of fun. It's quite nice to look up. I think it's pretty obvious that the players aren't looking at Norwich and thinking, right, we're gonna get first. Now the mentality has always been get playoffs mathematically, which we're almost at now, and then try and secure second, and then see. I think as long as fans can dream about whatever they want to dream about and think about, we could win the league, we could get second, getting in the pond, whatever. But I don't think that's the case for the players, and I don't think that's the case for Xisco. I think he's just pretty content with taking it game by game, as we always say, taking it game by game. We're still in far better form than Brentford and Swansea. Brentford do worry me because they will have the likes of Rico Henry back. I know Pontus Jansson has played a bit more recently. He's back getting full fitness. They'll have Josh Da Silva. They've got Christian Norgard. They've got a lot of talent in there, and that's even without talking about Ivan Toney. So Brentford are always going to be there, but the fact is they are behind us by quite some stretch. We've just got to focus on ourselves now and just try and keep picking up these results. Get back to, it's quite a convenient fixture, in my opinion, playing Reading on Friday because they're not in incredible form. They're in good enough form for them not to just completely spring a surprise on us. We know what to expect. They're quite an attacking team, and we won't underestimate them by any means. And it's at home, and we've got fantastic home form. And I think it's a really great opportunity to go back to winning ways, and we're still unbeaten in a long time. There's a lot to be positive about, and we don't look complacent. So yeah, I'm really positive about things at the moment, and yeah, it's just about taking it game by game, seeing how we can go, and trying to pick up these final few results. I don't like looking at the points targets because I think it's going to be higher than any season in recent memory, where people are saying, 87 was enough last season or 83 was enough this season. And we've just got to keep trying to win as many as possible, because it might be the case that we need 90 points. So yeah, we've just got to win as many.
I think 3 wins. 3 wins should do it now.
You reckon? I'll tell you what, we'll get. I've just seen a comment from Amy, Elliot, just to wrap up. I hope Elliot is at the game on Friday. Good luck, chum. Are you at the game on Friday, Elliot?
Yeah.
Too early to tell, but I hope so. I really hope so.
Fingers crossed. Shano, final thoughts from you, mate?
I don't like talking about how many points we're going to need, if I'm honest with you. People say 3 wins needed. Some people say 4. Some people think we were going to go unbeaten throughout like April and May, and some people were asking me in my messages as to what I'll be wearing when I eventually do come down to the pond when we do secure promotion. So there are different statuses of, and I'm not going to reveal what I'm going to wear, if in fact it does happen, because I will be on the fence. I've
already seen the tweets at Watford Council. Fingers crossed. Yeah.
I think it's one of those things as well, right? With this whole thing of people kind of predicting this and they want this to happen. I think it's a symptom of being a football fan is maybe one thing, but also the year in which we've had of being relegated. We were constantly looking behind our shoulder. We were sweating and watching our relegation rivals kind of pick up points. It was a depressing situation last season. Whereas this season we're playing great football. We're actually in the top 2, and as I say, we're playing good football. We're making the teams behind us sweat, which we've not done in a very long time. To be honest with you, I think maybe the last time that would have happened would have been our last promotion season, if we're being really honest about it. All right, maybe a little bit in the 18-19 season, of course, when we were under Javi and all that. But I think there's a lot of positivity. It's still in our hands, and it's just as I think a lot of the players, I think I've said today, it's one more point in our journey. It's one more point. It's one more step to the promised land. I personally am quite confident that we are going to go up this season, but I'm not going to predict how we're going to go up this season. And some people will say, oh, you're on the fence. No, because I know what this division is like. It could be your friend today. It could be your enemy tomorrow. And on Friday, I could be running down the street naked at a fantastic win. You know, it throws up
what a way
so
to end.
many different things. I know, brilliant. A brilliant image of me. Excellent. We all wanted that on a lovely Monday night. But there we go.
Shano, it's been an absolute pleasure. Sam, Elliot, thank you so much for joining us today.
No worries, mate.
Big period for the football club, big period here on the channel. If you do want to get involved with our content, please do subscribe to WDA Team. We'll be back with some more content very, very soon. If you did enjoy today's live streaming, or if you're watching this back, please do leave a like on the video. Don't forget to subscribe to WDA Team, and we'll see you very, very soon. Come on, you Hornets.